Okay, I think that the role that a language can have in any population or community is basically convey meaning and express what you want to say or share with others.
Basically, I feel that the principal role of any language in any community is to communicate. Communication through speaking, communication through writing, and the role is to bring people together in a communicative form.
I think that the role is very important because it's possible to communicate feelings, thoughts, and the knowledge of the world. And it's very important too because it's possible to get the knowledge through the language. It's necessary to understand that language is not only the possibility to speak or to talk anything, it's the possibility to show things with our face, with our body, movements, colors, etc., etc., and all the things around all are communicating something. So it's very important.
Language plays an important role in any community because language itself, it is the way we as human beings use in order to communicate, in order to convey meanings, and those meanings have to do with things, with goals that any community must achieve. For instance, in terms of food or in terms of community itself as an identity, the language plays an essential role.
The role of a language in certain communities is basically for the sake of communication. By communicating, we share knowledge. We end up finding a collective conscience. That's the way we evolve as a culture. And culture is part of language, of course. It's like the mirror of a culture. We're limited by it. Sharing the knowledge of everyone is what happens when we communicate. That's the main role of language.
The role of language in any community is, of course, communication. It's the root of cultures and is the sense of life, is agreement. Language is part of music. Without language, can exist music. Is the way of feeling, and of course, is the way of thinking, because language affects thinking.
I can say that I don't know them very well, but I have heard about a few that are related to the way that you have to teach English in schools and what kind of level the students have to have regarding their grade and all that stuff. But things like in a deeper way, not that much.
I've heard that the government of Colombia is trying to push very hard to make Colombia bilingual by the year 2016.
I know estándares nacionales del bilingüismo and el Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo. And it's possible that in Colombia Aprende we have some tips, for example, and there are some pages and activities that are including the policies in Colombia about language.
Concerning policies to language in Colombia, we must mention the Plan Nacional de Lingüismo Bilingualism Plan that has been implemented since 2000 or before. I'm not sure about the date. And you know that it has to do with the implementation of English as a foreign language, but it also has to do with the way Spanish is highlighted, but also how English is linked with the Spanish language, and also how to acquire some proficiency in the language. with the language. I also know a program led by the government called I Speak, which has to do with the it is mainly a program which want to looks for certification or qualifications for people or people from Colombia who speak English. So it is a way to certify them their level of English.
Bilingual plans in Colombia, it began with Bogotá Bilingüe, just trying to have Spanish and English as the official languages for the sake of tourism, and of course it's the capital of Colombia. They should start modeling, giving the example for spreading in Colombia, and then it became Colombia Bilingüe. That's the plan it's currently developing. That's basically what is in national level. There is a bilingual plan in Tolima, but it's something that is not well cooked. Well, as an English teacher, I haven't been involved in that sense. Well, I do my part, being part of the university. Well, for me, it's just a big deal in terms of promoting bilingualism in the area, in our region.
About language policies in Colombia, I just know Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo, but I haven't been involved of that matter. I don't know so much about that. I think it's just a plan, but it haven't been put into action. And in Tolima, I know that it exists a plan of bilingualism, but as teacher, I haven't been in touch of that. And as a student, the same thing. I haven't been involved of that. I don't know anything about that matter.
I would say that it's like a plan that is way too far away to become true, because there are a lot of things that are lacking in the way we teach, and also like the structure of the education here in our country. So I guess that if we are dreaming about having a Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo here in Colombia, we have to start by trying to improve the system, the educational system, and then we will think about that Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo become true.
I think it's a good idea for any nation to learn a language, because if you learn a language, you will have more opportunities in all aspects. I find here in Colombia, I think it's a big demand, and it's something that's very demanding and difficult, because there are a lot of schools in Colombia that high up in the mountains or in very remote areas, where I believe that the level of English is very, very low, and students who live in rural areas don't really feel the need to learn a language. So I think it is something that is good to try to reach, but it is very difficult to achieve.
I think that it was a good possibility at first, but so really each president gives the idea or fixes the policies to do things about, by his ministries. And for example, the last time with our last president, there were some activities, and the activities didn't continue. So it's difficult to follow some activities or some ideas because they are stopping.
I consider that the Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo in Colombia is being implemented in the wrong way. But not only because of the policies itself, because the statements that are established within the program, but also because of the conditions which the program has been developed. For instance, if we refer to teachers, most of the teachers don't have the level of English in order to cover all these goals from the program. I think also that the hours, the intensity of hours that have been taught in the schools are not enough in order to achieve these goals. The things that are shown within these programs in terms of culture, they didn't have to do with the culture from Colombia. There is another aspect which has to do with the other languages that are spoken in Colombia. I mean the languages spoken by indigenous people who see how the cultures, though how this language are in some way taken out from the programs and schools.
I guess that adopting literally plan from overseas is just immaterial. What we want to is to have to contextualize what others have done. I'm talking about the Common European Framework. What would be the pros or the more favorable aspects that will be applied here? Up to now, we're thinking of standardizing. We haven't considered that we have plenty of cultures and contexts that don't fit into that standard. So it would be good, it would be pertinent to reevaluate such aspect, if it's adopting or adapting.
Plan Nacional de Bilingüismo needs to be improved. For now, it is just a plan, but it is necessary that it must be put into action. It is necessary to educate all teachers, because here in Colombia we have English teachers, but they don't speak English, and they are not able to teach or give good lessons. So in that way, how can the students speak or get a good level of English? And it is like mandatory to have new generations of teachers, professional ones, that can give that level that population needs.
Communities, I would say that would be like positive and negative consequences, because I think that sometimes we are like losing our identity just for focusing on learning a new language. And also I would say that it would be good in another way, because we will push ourselves to be out of our comfort place and try to learn new things and be able to be part of a new culture.
Well, when one is talking about consequences, there are always positive consequences and negative consequences. Positive consequences, for example, is teachers will have to have more qualifications and be more qualified to teach English in their schools. A negative consequence, I think, is if, for example, if a teacher who has a very basic level of English, the teacher would have to study more and to improve their English, which is very hard when you have a family and children, and so it may cause some changes in the work field.
I think that if all these students were taught at the same way, it will be perfect. But it isn't the reality here. For example, where I am working, my students, they don't have the possibility to have internet in their houses. It's different with the students here in Ibagué, in the capital city, because they have the possibility to be on the web, surfing on the web, for example. So the knowledge of the language will never be the same, but they will be, the examinations will be the same. It doesn't matter if they are living or if they are studying in the country, in a village, or here in the capital city. So I think that it will be maybe a problem for students with not so much possibilities to learn English and to be in touch with English. And that's all.
Okay, regarding the proficiency of tests or the standardization of this proficiency test, I must say that there are some benefits and also some drawbacks related to that field. First of all, the benefits might be that students who take these attempts are internationally seen as proficient in that language. So if all the students have this proficient test or take these tests, they might be in the productive field, or they might be at the same level of students from all over the world. And that's really helpful in terms of academic stuff. But we also have some drawbacks. For example, that when we're talking about these tests, proficiency tests, we know that they don't cover all the learning strategies. So if we are, as teachers, said that learning strategies and learning styles are really important, and we are dealing with multiple intelligences, and also we are letting students take different ways of tests or different tests according to their needs and according to the way they learned. We cannot apply only these proficiency tests, because as we know, they are not 100% reliable, and they don't take into account all the ways or all the strategies of learning, all the learning strategies, or all the things that happen in the context or in an educational context.
Regarding administering proficiency tests to know how well our communities are in English, it would be something that would be referred to what I stated before. Some communities don't fit into the standard. If we think of an education, that's totally different what we may think of the bilingual plan. Maybe if we go into the urban areas in which we have young citizens more immersed into the global context, global media, they are more influenced into such international affairs, and we fit more into that standard. I have just to be consistent until if it's adopting or adapting. So when we think more on that, taking those proficiency tests will be difficult for those who are not included in such plan.
To make a standardization, it's absolutely necessary to improve our educational system. So how can students be evaluated to a standardized test if they don't have the level? Some schools, they can reach the levels government needs, but what about public education? Nowadays in our country, public education is getting worse day by day. So to reach this, it is totally indispensable to improve our system through having new generations of professional teachers able and capable to teach all the stuff that is necessary in order to become Colombia in a bilingual country.